The sun beat down on the small village of Kabanga, its cracked earth radiating heat and tension. Chickens scattered, goats bleated nervously, and even the wind felt dry, as if the land itself held its breath. A silence settled that didn't belong in the heart of the day. It was the kind of silence that comes just before something terrible breaks loose. Then came the roar. It tore through the air like a curse, deep and ragged, the sound of hunger, fury, and pain. It wasn't the kind of roar heard from the safety of a zoo or the television. This was real, wild, raw. People screamed. From the edge of the village, a dust cloud spiraled, kicked up by something massive and fast. From behind the thick acacia trees he emerged, a lion, but not just any lion. This one was unlike anything they'd ever seen. His ribs jutted out from his golden skin like knives under a cloth. His mane was wild, uneven, matted with dried blood, and thorns. His eyes weren't the proud, glowing eyes of a king. They were sunken, mad, and desperate. His lips curled back to reveal sharp, yellowed teeth, and foam frothed at the corners of his mouth. He was starving. Someone screamed, "Run!" And they did. Men dropped their tools, women clutched their children, and even the village dogs fled with tails tucked. Doors slammed, chickens flapped in terror, and the once busy village became a scene of chaos. But amidst the panic, someone didn't move. A boy, no older than 12, thin, barefoot, his shirt oversized and torn at the shoulder. He stood at the center of the path, frozen not with fear, but with something else, wonder, and something like sadness. The lion spotted him. Time slowed. The beast's ears twitched, head lowering like a predator preparing to strike. His legs tensed. Another roar. Saliva dripped from his jaws, and still the boy didn't move. People watching from their windows held their breath. "Get inside," someone whispered from behind a curtain. "He's going to die." But the boy took a step forward. The lion snarled and moved a pace closer, his claws leaving shallow trenches in the dry earth. And then the boy did something no one could have imagined. He knelt, slowly, deliberately, lowering himself onto the dusty ground. His hands were raised, not in fear, but as if offering something invisible. His gaze didn't leave the lion. There was no panic in his body, no trembling, just a strange calm that didn't belong in the face of death. The lion stopped. Only, feet away now, his breathing ragged, body shaking with exhaustion, his tail flicked violently, unsure, confused. This wasn't how prey usually behaved. The boy didn't run. He didn't scream. The village was silent again, every eye peeking from behind shutters and doorways. The boy reached into the sling tied around his shoulder, slowly, with care. From it, he pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it gently. A piece of flatbread, the kind made every morning in the village ovens. Small, rough, a bit burnt at the edge. The boy held it out, palms open. The lion growled low, took a step forward. Another. Now he stood directly in front of the boy. The villagers gasped. The beast's mouth opened wide, so close he could tear the boy apart with a single bite, but he didn't. Instead, he sniffed, then lowered his head, and took the bread. The boy smiled, a soft, almost sad smile, as the lion gently took the offering from his palm. No one could believe it. The lion ate like a creature remembering how to live, not how to kill. But the silence didn't last. Behind them, a gunshot rang out. The boy flinched, the lion recoiled. It came from the northern gate, where a group of men had gathered with old hunting rifles, led by Chief Bwana himself. "Move, boy," the chief shouted. "Get away from the beast." The lion's body tensed again, shifting back into fight or flight. His eyes darted toward the direction of the shot, and he let out a warning growl. "No!" the boy screamed, throwing himself in front of the lion. "Don't shoot him. He's not attacking." "He's a predator," someone yelled back. "He'll kill us all if we don't take him down now." The lion stepped closer to the boy, now standing protectively behind him. The chief raised his rifle again. "This is your last warning. Move or I shoot." The boy didn't move. Earlier. That morning, the day had started like any other. The boy, whose name was Nuru, had woken early to fetch water from the river. His mother, ill for many weeks, couldn't move much anymore, and Nuru had taken over her chores quietly without complaint. The riverbed was drier than usual, and the sky seemed thinner somehow. Birds didn't sing. Even the goats bleated quietly. Nuru's instincts told him something was off. Something felt wrong. On his way back from the river, he'd seen the tracks. Large, deep, and fresh. He followed them for a while, curiosity pulling him forward. Then he saw it. A lion, collapsed under a tree, panting, barely able to lift his head. At first, Nuru froze, but then he noticed the flies swarming around a wounded leg, a deep gash across its thigh. The lion was dying, not from age, but from something else. Starvation, wounds, isolation, and something else flickered in the boy's heart. Not fear, but recognition. He reached into his pouch and left a small piece of bread under the tree. Then he walked away. He didn't expect the lion to follow. Now, in the village square, the lion stood beside Nuru, his breath calm again, his eyes alert. But there was no threat in his posture, just loyalty and confusion. Nuru shouted, "He's hurt. He's starving. He came to us for help, not to kill. He's a wild animal," the chief barked. "He belongs in the bush." Nuru took a step forward, arms still wide. "So do we, chief. Long ago, before we built fences. But now he has no land, no prey, no family. We took that too, didn't we?" There was a pause. Then the priest, an old man named Father Mosey, stepped forward. He looked closely at the lion, then at the boy. His eyes widened slowly, like something was dawning on him. A memory, a truth. "Wait," Father Mosey said softly. "This lion, his scar, I've seen it before." Everyone turned to look at him. The priest's voice trembled. 12 years ago, there was a cub, rescued from a trap. A ranger took him in, raised him like a son, until poachers burned the reserve. The lion looked at the priest now, as if he recognized the voice, the place, the name. Father Mosey stepped forward, tears welling. That cub's name was Django. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The chief lowered his rifle, but his eyes stayed sharp. "Are you saying this lion was once tame?" "No," the priest said slowly. "I'm saying he once knew love." The lion made a low sound. Not a growl, not a roar. It sounded almost like a sob. Nuru turned to look at him. "Your name is Django?" he whispered. The lion blinked slowly, then lowered his head and pressed it gently against Nuru's chest. The village of Kabanga remained frozen. The only sound was the low panting of the lion and the occasional flutter of a bird, too confused to flee. Nuru stood still, his thin frame pressed gently against the lion's broad, scarred head. Django. That name now echoed across the minds of the villagers, whispered like the return of something long buried. Chief Bwana lowered his rifle slightly, but didn't let go. "This lion remembers his name, so what? He's still dangerous. Today he came for food. What if tomorrow he comes for blood?" "No," Father Mosey said, stepping between the boy and the chief. "You don't understand. This isn't just any lion. He was raised by a ranger who lived in the forest north of here. Joseph." At the name, the chief stiffened. "Joseph Mwana," the priest continued. "He was one of our own, a protector of the wild. They called him the man who walked with lions." Nuru's eyes lit up. "My mother used to tell stories about him. She said he was a hero." The priest nodded solemnly. "He raised Django after the cub's family was slaughtered by poachers. They lived together for years, until the reserve was burned. The fire, Chief Bwana muttered, eyes darkening. Yes, the priest said. The poachers set it to cover their tracks. Joseph disappeared. Everyone assumed he died, but now... He looked at the lion. Now I believe Django survived. He's come home. The lion turned his eyes toward the priest. Something passed between them. A flicker of recognition. Or maybe forgiveness. But Chief Bwana wasn't swayed. Even if it's true that was over a decade ago, that animal isn't tame anymore. Look at his eyes. He's broken. No, Nuru said quietly. He's not broken. He's lost. Like me, the villagers murmured. Some stepped out from their homes, curiosity overcoming fear. Children peeked from behind mothers' skirts. The lion didn't move. He simply stood by the boy like a protector, or a survivor. Suddenly, from the back of the crowd, an old woman called out, "Wait! Bring the radio!" Everyone turned. It was Mama Tana, the village elder. She was nearly blind and rarely spoke. But when she did, people listened. She hobbled forward with the help of two young girls, her wrinkled hand pointing at the lion. "I remember Joseph," she said. "I was there when he rescued the cub. That lion, he used to sleep in Joseph's bed." People gasped. "He wore a red cloth around his neck," she added, "like a collar. He was gentle. He wouldn't eat unless Joseph gave him permission." Nuru turned, eyes wide. "My mother used to tell me that story. She said, the cub followed him like a shadow." "Yes," Mama Tana said with a smile. "That was Django." The priest looked at the lion again. "Then we must confirm it." He gestured to the boy. "Nuru, reach into your sling." Nuru hesitated, then pulled out a small cloth pouch. Inside was a string of colored beads and a piece of red fabric, frayed and faded. "I found this in the forest near the dead river," Nuru said. "I thought it was just old junk." The lion's ears perked. His body shifted, not in fear, but in memory. He stepped forward. Nuru raised the fabric slowly. Django let out a low rumble. Not a growl, but something else. His nose twitched. He stepped forward again, and then he sat, gently, submissively, a collective gasp. "It's him," the priest said with a choked voice. "It really is Django." But the chief remained unmoved. "This changes nothing. That lion is wild now. Even if he remembers his name, or Joseph, or a red cloth, he can turn at any moment. What happens when the hunger comes again? What if it's a child next time?" A silence settled over the crowd. Then Nuru stood tall. "Then let me take him." "What?" Bwana snapped. "I'll care for him," Nuru said. "Like Joseph did. I don't have much, but I have time. I'll find food for him. I'll learn his ways. He doesn't belong in a cage or with a bullet in his heart." "And what if he kills you?" Bwana challenged. "Then at least I tried," the boy said. "At least I didn't run like everyone else." The words stung the villagers. Even the chief couldn't speak. After a long pause, Mama Tana raised her voice once more. "Let the boy try. This lion didn't come to kill. He came to be remembered." Finally, Bwana lowered his gun. "1 week," he said harshly. "That's all. If he harms anyone, I end this." The boy nodded. He won't. He won't." The following days, word of the lion spread quickly. Villagers visited the edges of the clearing where Nuru lived, watching from afar as the boy tended to Django's wounds. Each morning, Nuru searched the forest for scraps, berries, old meat, anything edible. At night, he lay beside the lion under the stars, humming softly as his mother once did, and something changed. Django changed. He stopped growling. He stopped pacing. His eyes softened. He began to respond to Nuru's voice, even followed him to the river. He would lie near the boy like a dog guarding its master. Children started creeping closer. Mothers began smiling again. Even Chief Bwana, though grim-faced, hadn't raised his rifle once. But danger was never far in Kabanga, and that danger would soon return. The warning on the 6th day, as Nuru returned from the river with Django beside him, he noticed something strange. A series of tracks near the edge of the forest, boot prints, men, heavy, armed. He followed them quietly through the brush, and there in the distance he saw them, 3 men with rifles. Faces he didn't recognize, not villagers, not rangers, poachers. They were watching. One of them pointed toward the village, another toward the lion. "They're going to kill him," Nuru whispered, ducking low. He rushed back to the village, heart pounding. "They're here," he told Father Mosi. "The same kind who burned the reserve. They want Django." The priest paled. "Are you sure?" "I saw their guns, their boots. One of them had a scar across his cheek." The priest stiffened. "I've heard of him. A tracker. Dangerous, ruthless." "We have to hide Django," Nuru said. "They'll come at night." The priest nodded. "Then we must prepare." That night a storm rolled in, wind howling, thunder crashing like the footsteps of gods. The villagers stayed inside, doors bolted, windows shuttered, but Nuru didn't sleep. He sat beside Django in the small clearing outside the village, eyes fixed on the darkness. Then he heard it, the snap of a branch, voices low, approaching. He pressed his hand to the lion's mane. "Stay still," he whispered. "Don't run. Don't fight." From the trees the poachers emerged, 3 of them, rifles raised. "There he is," one said. "The golden prize." The scar-faced one stepped forward. "I want that pelt. And the boy too." "He saw us." Nuru stood. "He's not just a lion. He has a name, Django. He's loved." "Don't care," the man growled. "He's money on 4 legs." But before he could shoot, a shadow moved behind him, a flash of white robes. "Father Mosi, stop!" the priest cried. The poachers spun. One fired. The bullet missed, striking a tree. In the chaos, Django moved, not to kill, but to shield. He leapt between the bullet and the boy. Another shot rang out. Django roared, the loudest sound the village had ever heard. The poachers scattered in terror, vanishing into the trees. But Django fell, blood staining the ground beneath him. "No!" Nuru cried, falling to his knees. Lion's chest heaved. His eyes locked with the boy's, and he licked Nuru's hand. One final, gentle gesture. The rain had stopped. Dawn approached slowly, pulling golden threads across the broken sky. But where the first light touched the ground near the village of Kabanga, it found a heartbreaking sight. Django, the lion once feared, once beloved, lay motionless in the clearing, blood soaked into the soil beneath him. His mane, once bright and golden, was now matted with red. Nuru's small hands trembled as he cradled the lion's heavy head in his lap. His tears fell silently, washing the dirt from Django's closed eyes. The priest knelt beside them, still in his white robes torn from the brush. "He saved you," Father Mosi whispered. Nuru nodded, his voice nearly lost. "He protected me, like Joseph did for him." The villagers emerged one by one from their homes. They came slowly, cautiously, holding lanterns, weapons, tools, unsure of what they'd find after the storm. Then they saw the boy and the lion, and the rifles left behind by the poachers. Chief Bwana pushed his way to the front, face rigid. "Is the lion dead?" Nuru didn't answer. Instead, he placed his ear gently against Django's side and waited. Then, thump, soft, faint. But there. "He's alive," the boy cried, his heart still beating. The priest clutched his chest in relief. "We must help him, now." Bwana's voice cracked. "He protected our village when he could have killed us." "Yes," said Mama Tana, stepping forward. "He chose love over rage." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Chief Bwana dropped his rifle to the dirt and looked at Nuru. "Nuru, what do you need?" Under Father Mosi's guidance, the villagers transformed their small school building into a recovery shelter. The children brought buckets of water. The elders gathered old blankets. A hunter who once wanted Django dead brought raw meat from his cold store. Together they tended the beast, and for days Django lay still. His wounds were deep and the bullet had grazed his ribs. Infection threatened, but Nuru stayed by his side, cleaning every scratch, feeding him by hand, sleeping at his feet. Each day the villagers came to check. Some left food. Others whispered stories from their childhood, recalling the time when Joseph had walked these lands with a lion cub by his side. Django became more than an animal. He became a memory brought to life. On the 6th night, as Nuru sat humming beside him, Django's ear twitched, then his eyes opened. The boy gasped, gripping his paw. "You came back." The lion looked at him for a long time. Then, slowly, he placed his paw on Nuru's knee and purred. While the village celebrated Django's recovery, a deeper question burned within the priest. Who were those poachers, and why had they come now? Father Mosi traveled to a nearby town to meet an old ranger friend named Baraka. Together, they went through old ranger reports, confiscated maps, and smuggler records. Then, they found it. A document long forgotten written by Joseph himself, dated just a week before the fire that destroyed the reserve. "I've hidden the tracking collar near the cliff beyond the river. Django's memory is sharp. If he survives, he'll find his way back. And maybe one day the truth will too." Attached was a photo, Joseph younger smiling with Django as a cub resting in his lap, around the cub's neck, the same red cloth Nuru had found. Baraka's hands trembled. Joseph knew they were coming. He sacrificed himself to save the lion. And those poachers, Father Mosi said grimly. They must have learned about this collar. Maybe it holds tracking data or evidence that could incriminate them. Or treasure, Baraka added. Rumors say Joseph confiscated ivory from poachers and hid it. They returned to Kabanga with the paper and photo. When Nuru saw it, he burst into tears. "I never knew my father looked like that," he whispered. Throughout, priest blinked. "Your father?" "Yes," Nuru said. "My mother told me. His name was Joseph." The village went silent. Mama Tana, eyes wide, whispered, "Then that lion protected his son." Weeks passed. Django walked again, slower, but steady. He followed Nuru wherever he went. The village had changed. Fear had given way to fascination. Then, one morning, government rangers arrived, tall men in dark green, armed and official. "We've come for the lion," the captain said. "He must be relocated to a sanctuary," the villagers protested. Father Mosi presented the photo, the document, the story, but the captain shook his head. "I'm sorry. He's still a wild animal. He doesn't belong among people." Nuru stepped forward. "He's not just a lion. He's part of this village. He's part of my family." The captain hesitated. "You're brave, boy, but the law..." Then, Django stepped between them. The rangers raised their rifles, but Nuru stood in front of them. "Shoot me first," he said. "If you hurt him, you'll have to go through me." The entire village stepped forward behind the boy. The priest, the hunters, the mothers, even Chief Bwana. And in that moment, the rangers saw not a wild animal, but a guardian. The captain sighed. There may be another way. Months later, the village of Kabanga was no longer just a dot on a map. It became a sanctuary, not for cages, but for coexistence. With help from the rangers and Father Mosi, Kabanga was granted protected status. Nuru and Django became symbols of something deeper, the bond between man and beast, memory and legacy. Tourists came, not for entertainment, but for the story, for the boy who stood before a lion, for the lion who chose loyalty over instinct, and, on a quiet hill near the village, a stone was placed. It read, Joseph Mwana, the man who walked with lions. His courage lives on in his son and the lion he saved. Beside it sat Nuru, now older, Django at his side. They watched the sunset, the sky ablaze with color. Do you remember him? Nuru whispered. Django let out a soft rumble. The boy smiled. Me too. As the sun dipped below the hills, a crowd gathered quietly behind them. The village, the rangers, the children, and together they watched as Django, the lion once feared, stood tall beside the boy no one expected, and let out one final roar, not of hunger, but of home.